Hello, 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 and welcome. Can you guys hear me? Hello, happy Friday, happy Friday. So tonight we have a special guest. So let me welcome her. I want to welcome Nadia, and she is a dating and relationship expert. And so this is her first live, too. This is your first live.
It is my first one.
Yes, I'm excited for you to be here. So let's see. Let's say hello to some of our friends in the chat. We have no, we have a new member. I don't know if she's in here, so I'll wait until I see her name pop up in here. But she was the first one in the chat. Here she is, Diana. Yay! Welcome, Diana. All right, so we have Simply Taisha. Hey, Simply Taisha, how are you? We have Jerlene. Hey, Jerlene. She says, hey, Didi and friends. Delilah. Hello, Delilah. We have Nia. Hey, Nia. We have Jamisha. We have Felicia. Hey, Felicia. We have, oh, there's Diana. Diana, welcome, welcome. I'm glad you could make it. And we have Lakeisha. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. We have Lakeisha. All right. So, Lakeisha, you got to stay in this chat. You always stay probably to the end, but you got to stay at the end because I have a little something for you. All right. Okay. All right. So let's get started. Let's get started. So we're going to get started with Miss. Now we have another, subscriber, community member, and her name is Nydia. And then she spells it a little bit differently than you. And your name is spelled Nadia, right?
Yes.
Nadia. Okay. So I want to remember that. So if I ever switch over, it's because I'm so used to saying pronouncing it the other way.
It's okay.
So I'm gonna try to get it right. So just let me give you your flowers. I want to read your bio so people can know a little bit about you. So you are a dating and relationship expert. You're the author of The Dating Reset, a later dater's guide to aligned love. I love that aligned love. I can't wait to find out what that's about. All right, let me take this off here. Okay. And so you help single women over 40 find meaningful, lasting love using her signature dating reset method, the dating reset method, an intentional, values driven approach to breaking dating patterns and creating aligned connections. Known for her compassionate but no fluff style, Nadia draws from her own experience of meeting her husband in just 30 days to guide others through both the emotional and the practical sides of dating. Many of her clients are successful independent women like myself who struggle to find compatible partners, and I would say like myself, but she helps them overcome fear, trust themselves, and make empowered choices in love. Today, she lives what she teaches, traveling the world with her husband and living the kind of joyful, aligned partnership she helps her clients to create. So I love that. Some of those words that stuck out for me was aligned. I love the aligned. You have to be aligned with your
Mhm.
partner. And I also loved how you said, you empower people to make their own choices, right? So you're empowering women. And I love that too. I love that too. So I'm excited. So let's jump right in because we want to
Jump right
talk
in.
about your book. And then anything I left out, you can add that in there. But what inspired you to write the dating reset and to create the dating reset method? What inspired you to do that?
Yeah. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. And if you had met me like 10 plus years ago, you'd have been like, is this lady a dating expert of any kind? Because I was a hot mess. I was fearful, didn't know what I was doing, dating all the wrong types, attracting all the wrong ones. But I was able to pause and say, this is not what I want anymore. Right. And I went through like this really bad heartbreak. And because of that experience, I decided to write this book called The Dating Reset because it is possible to pause and to take a step back and then say, let me figure this out in a different or a better way. And that's what I help my clients do. So the book really is about my reset moment, and what I did to start dating better. And it's rooted in my dating framework. And we could talk about that later.
Okay, okay, because I have to ask you how you met your husband. So, can you tell us a little bit though about what does aligned love mean? Because we always hear like you have to be equally yoked and you need to be matched with your partner, but I've never heard the word aligned, and I love it.
Yeah, aligned love is is about finding a partner, finding a man, right? In this case, who shares your values, right? So my whole dating reset method is deeply rooted in shared values because a lot of times when we're in our 40s, like we think we know everything, right? By the time we get to midlife, we lived life, we've had some heartbreaks, we have kids, we grow, we know all the things. And then what happens when it comes to love, like we just let chemistry kind of lead everything because we just think that we know we could try, trust this feeling. um, but when you take a step back and say, wait a minute, why am I being drawn to this man? What is the alignment? What things do we share besides, interest? What are the values that we share? Because that is the foundation of the relationship.
All right, very good, very good. I love that. So, why do you think dating after 40 is so different from dating in our 20s and our 30s?
Yeah, dating in midlife, right? Later daters, it is a very nuanced situation, right? So we have, I don't like saying emotion, I don't like saying baggage. I say emotional piles because, through our life experiences, we have accumulated different stuff, right? And different emotional piles that we have. And we kind of like tuck them in different areas, and it may take us some time to go through. We also have, some of us may have aging parents that we have to take care of. So that takes up time. We may have adult kids, we may have younger children. And then we may have our careers that are all over the place, or we're trying to figure out, or we may be in retirement. There's all of this nuance to dating in midlife. You may be concerned about your finances, right? You've accumulated a certain amount of money, and now you're like, I don't want this guy coming in and trying to take, whatever it is, right? So a lot of those concerns are more in after 40 and older. Not so much in your 20s and 30s. I think you're like living your best life. You're carefree. You're not thinking about a lot of that stuff. But by the time you hit midlife, your concerns are different. And that's what makes it different because now the lens that you're using to look for a partner begins to shift.
Okay, okay. So, I'm going to ask you this question because this has been something I've talked about here with my situation. And a lot of the ladies, have this the same, I would say requirement maybe on our checklist, on our list of things we're looking for. So, have you ever encouraged someone, or would you encourage someone to get a prenup when they're getting married over when you're 40? Because like you said, I mean, you're later when you
Mhm,
establish things and you start to get some assets going on here, and
mhm.
you're looking for a partner, you're looking for love. Does that prenup mean you're thinking it's going to end? Is it over? Is it wrong to even think that way? What do you think?
So this is a very interesting question. I firmly believe that if you have a certain amount of wealth, that you should protect yourself. It's just like if you think about driving a car, you don't get in a car and be like, I don't know, I may get into an accident today, but yet you still have car insurance, right? Most of us have we have insurance. So a prenup is just an extension of that, where you want to make sure, again, when you're in midlife now, you may have, your children that you have to think about, and what happens to your assets if how does that all work? The prenup is just that agreement that makes everything very clear. It's like having a will in place, right? Having a revocable trust in place. Those are just financial documents that take care of your financial house. And that type of conversation is important to have when you are getting serious in relationship. I wouldn't say like on the first few dates, right? But when you have decided that you're going to commit to this person, those are the type of conversations to have.
Now, is it a red flag if he says, "No way, Jose"? No, you're not doing that.
I think that if he so there are different things, right? I think that's time to pause and have a conversation with him. And then you have to decide. As a woman in midlife, you decide, are you willing to move forward with someone who is not respecting your boundary of protecting your financial house? And you make that decision.
Okay, okay. I get it.
I'll put it that way.
Oh, I love that. So can you break down the key pillars? You talk about this dating reset method. Can you
Mhm.
break down that for us? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, so the dating reset method is the entire process of how we do this whole dating reset. And it is rooted in my dating framework. And a dating framework are 6 phases. So, and dating is an acronym. So it's detachment, alignment, time, um, intention, nurturing, and gratitude. So, through those 6 phases is the dating reset method and what it's rooted in. And that framework, it shifts you from this emotional phase or emotional part of being fearful. I find a lot of clients who come to me, they're afraid. They're afraid of getting their heart broken. They're afraid of rejection. They're afraid of, just trying again for whatever reason, right? And my dating reset method helps tap into what are the patterns, first of all, that you may be repeating, right? Let's take a look at that. And then we're going to step into the alignment piece and look at what are the values that really matter to you? What are those? And I take my clients through this whole thing about identifying your values based on categories. So, how you brought up the prenup, like that is one of the categories, right? Being in your over 40 in your 50s, you're concerned about money, and how do you start asking those questions in a way that is kind and not in this interrogative type of manner, right? You want to be able to do that. So I walk clients through that.
Oh, okay, very good. I love the acronym. I love how you broke that down. I love that. It also is good to have those acronyms too, because you have clients, they can remember if you associate the letters with the word, it kind of helps you to remember that. So I love that.
Yeah.
So here's a good question for you. What are some of the most common dating patterns you help clients reset?
hmm So the one that stands out most is dating and not being caught up in the chemistry, because it's easy to go on dates and then get really excited when you meet a man who you're interested in, or if he shows that he's interested in you. And I work with my clients to say the chemistry is nice, but let's step back and see, is there alignment in the values, right? What is this person, what does he represent? Does he share and let's talk about some values, right? Does he share your love of travel? Does he show that he has integrity? Does he care for his aging parents, or does he kick them, he locked the doors and doesn't answer their phone calls, right? Those type of things. If those things are important to you and he shows that it's important to him too, then there is some alignment there. But if there is no alignment, don't waste your time, and then don't get caught up in the chemistry. And we could see like chemistry in the Netflix show Later Daters, where there is one particular cast member. Do you know what I'm talking about? And
And I watched it a couple times, not the whole series though.
so there is a particular cast member who had her list and everything, and she met one guy who chemistry was there, and she went off with him, and it didn't work out. And then later on, she says, "Yeah, our values were not aligned." And I said, "Yeah, exactly."
Those values. So how do you get people past that? Because I can see, okay, so if I have 5 things on my list and he has, let's say he's like not a, let's say he drinks too much, because I'm barely drinking, and he drinks a whole lot, but he's not an alcoholic, he's not over that line.
Mhm.
But that's something that, I said, I don't want a guy that's doing that. And this is all, just made up, just
Yeah.
to give you an example. But what if, but he is, he's smoking. He's like, I'm all into it. You call it chemistry, I call it attraction. Like you're
Yeah.
looking at him, you're like, oh, I want to date this guy. But, so something on your list is not matching up. So what do you do? Do you encourage, do you look past that one thing out of the five? You have five and he has all but that one. Or do you say to that one, that's a deal breaker and you keep it moving?
Yeah, you have. So for that, I recommend that you sit down and really think about, is that one thing, is that really one of your core values? If that thing is, if it's really your core value, then I'm going to say you're going to have to say goodbye to this guy. Because if you let that boundary go, or if you say, oh, I'll just cross off my list and hopes, that's another thing, right? The hoping is another pattern. The hoping that he'll be different if, or the hoping that this is not so bad because, right? That's another pattern. So you have to decide, if that's something that you can live without, then maybe it really isn't that much of a core value for you. But if it is, then honor your core values. Like, respect yourself to know that it's okay to let him go. And also have this mindset of abundance. There are plenty of available men in this world. Like, there is no shortage of men.
But
There's
we
no
hear all the time that it is.
that what? There's a
There's a
shortage?
shortage, yeah. So I think that's the mindset. Like it's not a lot of good men out here, so if you find one that gets you three out of the five, go for that because people often say, we're looking for perfection. If we, or they call us picky. Some of us picky. If
And
we
you should be picky over 40. Yes, ma'am, be picky. Why, out of all of the things that we talk about, we should be the pickiest when it comes to choosing a person to give our love to and to love us back. If there's any point,
agree.
be picky here. Be picky. Yes, be picky. Absolutely. But be picky based on your values and and the values is what things are the foundation for you. What are those things? And then look for the person that shares those. There are plenty of men. I found my husband because he shared my values. And I thought that I was so when I speak, I'm speaking from a place of I lived it, because I didn't think there were any good men. I was like, I'm not going to find anybody. I'm already in my 40s. I'm just going to be single forever. You see how Tracy Ellis Ross is talking? I was her. I was like, yeah, ain't nobody out there. These men are trash. I'm just going to live by myself and live my best life, right? My life was full and still is full. So I didn't need a man, but I just wanted this partner. And, me just actively dating, I came across my now husband, and I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And then
Yeah.
it just progressed. And then I wasn't looking for a husband. I was looking for a partner, though.
Yes, yes. Now, I that it's been a debate. My this Friday night we have to talk about the Tracy Ellis Ross. I don't know if we can talk about it now. We can talk about it another day. But I say first of all, I love how you say be picky, and I think I always have been kind of maybe sometimes to a fault. But now that I'm thinking back with what you said, I think it's important to say they don't line up with these core values. Now that I'm a mom, when I became a mom, that's when my whole mindset changed. And it was like, no, this is, I got to stick to it. If that means I'm not out here dating, that's just what it means. But before that, I was so quick to like, say, okay, they have four out of the five. Okay. Or I knew it was a core value and I just kind of excused it. And so like I said, I learned not to do that because I feel like now I'm not just living for me, right? I'm living also for my daughter as well.
Wow.
So I do see that, but I love how you put that. If it's a core value, that means it's non-negotiable, right? You can't negotiate it. And I think that's the kind of mindset we have to have going forward. And so I love that. I love that. um It was something else I was going to say, but I might have to come back to that. So, we have a lot of women in our chat that we talk to every week, and, they'll say, yeah, I'm done. I'm not getting married again. I was married before, it didn't work out.
Mhm.
What do you say to women like that who, lack the confidence to like rebuild after a heartbreak or to get back in another relationship or to even be married again?
Yeah. Any of those type of statements, I always want to give women the space to feel that, right? Because though their feelings are valid, that divorce, heartbreak, all of those emotional type of, I don't know, like earthquakes, I always want to call it. Let's give them the space to feel that. And then when they're ready, because they have to be ready. I am definitely not a proponent of telling a woman, just get back out there. I think that's really trash advice. You want to do, once you're ready to start dating again, because dating is not that easy, right? There's some nurturing and gratitude that goes into it. And if you already have the mindset that it's not going to work for me and all this stuff, then it won't work for you. So when she is ready, and the confidence will come from, okay, I'm going to give it a try, right? So confidence comes from doing something and do it in small steps. And then you'll see, okay, it's not so bad. And then you just keep doing something. And then that something, for the women that you described, I highly recommend that they work with someone. So if it's a dating coach, if it's a therapist, if it's someone in their family that they, admire how they work in relationships, then they should do that. But if they're not ready, then they should not start dating. If they feel like they're ready and they want to make the effort, then absolutely, there is a way to do that and to do that with intention, not just getting back out there.
Okay, so no to getting back out there. What do you feel about the dating apps? Are you a proponent of that?
I like dating apps. So dating apps use it as a tool, right? And not as I'm going to find the one, but use it as a tool so that you can meet men, right? Because part of dating is to meet men so that you don't get stuck on one, right? Getting away from that chemistry. You want to meet enough men, and dating apps can help you do that. Now, which dating app? A client of mine asked me just recently, like, which one do I recommend? These dating apps are so similar nowadays. They're very similar, and their functions and their capabilities keep changing. So I would say, try two dating apps, see which one that you feel comfortable using, and then just start using one. Don't be on different platforms. It's too much work.
Too much was or limited to two.
I would say try two,
Try
try them
two.
out. They usually have a trial period. I would say try two and then go on one that you feel most comfortable using.
So thanks for that. Thanks for that. What do you say to women who feel like it's too late to find love? Like, and I know even on that date later dater, they have some older couples on there. But what do you say to someone who's is in their 60s, 70s, and they say it's too late for me to date? What do you say to that?
It's so we have to, so for people like that, I would say, shift your mindset from that, because the last time I've seen 60 and 70-year-olds, as long as you're walking, you're alive, and you want to find someone, there is someone out there for you. It's not too late. I see people getting married in their 60s and their 70s all the time, right? So it's not too late. It's only if you put that out there and say it is too late, then it will be too late for you. But if you shift back and say, I'm 60, I want, and it doesn't have to be marriage, right? It could just be, I want to find a partner so I can, I don't know. What do 60-year-olds do? I don't, um, they try,
Travel, go
yeah,
there,
you want,
dance.
exactly. And men travel in their 60s. There's some men who are very fit in their 60s. Sometimes it's about changing the lens that we're using to look at things.
I agree. I agree. Okay, so can you tell us? Well, let me ask this question because this is kind of related to, we're in the GLP-1s. A lot of what you said reminds me of the GLP-1, having that mindset. We're on a weight loss journey here, and many of us, and we have to have that mindset of doing something different, right? Changing your
Right.
lifestyle, being open to doing something new. Especially some of us have been in this, groove, and then we hit a stall with our weight loss, and then we wonder, well, what's going on, why aren't we losing? And
Mm.
a lot of times we don't first think like we have to shift what we're doing. And so it sounds like that mindset is the same thing with this dating. You kind of have to change what you're doing, open up your mind. So a shift in the dating might be those dating apps, because a lot of people say, I would never do that, but that might be, this 2025, that might be something you need to do. So how do you approach the fear of being judged? How would someone approach this? The fear of being judged for physical changes like a weight loss, or using medications to lose weight, like the GLP-1s. um, you know uh, do people fear being judged about their weight, the clients that come to you, and how do you handle that?
It's that's a very good question. Clients, I do have clients who are concerned about their weight. And I always say, men are rarely concerned about your weight.
Wait a
And
minute, repeat that.
men are rarely concerned about your weight.
You think
Um,
so? You think so?
I'm going so let's rephrase. Men of true substance, right? Actually, men of true substance are not that concerned. A man of substance will want to make sure that you're healthy, right? And that is where the concern comes in, and how you carry yourself, right? Look, there are so many. What is that actress? She just got married. I think she celebrated like her 4-year wedding anniversary. I can't remember her name, but she is not the typical size 4 woman, right? And she's celebrating her 4-year anniversary. So again, she found a man of substance who loved her for who she is. So the whole weight thing, let's step back and say, okay, what are the patterns, and why am I attracting these certain men who don't love me for who I am, and instead are talking about weight, or whatever the conversation is, and to embrace who you are, right? If you've lost all this weight, congratulations. That is a huge accomplishment, right? Whether you use medication or not. But the transformation is your transformation. And to be confident and walk in that you did that. And you'll find the right man. You'll find the man who loves you for who you are.
Yes, I believe that too. I believe that too. So, so you touched on this earlier, but how would someone know if they were ready to date? Because I say, this is why this Friday night started. I said, I think I'm ready to date.
Mhm.
And then the more I talked every Friday, I thought, maybe I'm not ready. So how would you really know if you're ready to date again, especially after a weight loss change, or, you had something, a loss in your family, or you had lost a mate? There's a lot of
Mhm.
women that are widowed. And how would you know when you're ready?
You know when you're ready when you start thinking, am I ready to date? That's when you know.
Okay.
Because yeah, so if you're asking yourself, am I ready? Then you are ready, and you're just looking for someone to help guide you. The people who are not ready are not even thinking about it. They're not even asking that question. But if you're saying, am I ready? And you're starting to think like, okay, like what do I do? Do I go on the dating app, or do I go here? Then you are ready to start dating. And you just have to do, small things.
Okay. All right. Very good. So that means I am ready.
That
I
means
am
ma'am, you are ready. Yes.
single and ready to mingle. That's too funny.
You're
So can you
ready.
tell us, how did you meet your husband? How did you guys meet?
Yeah, so I met my husband, so after I got my heart broken, I stopped dating for like a full year. I was like, this is too much for me. So like I tell you, like if you're asking, am I ready? I was like, I'm not doing it. That's it. So I stopped for a year, and I, had to really look inward to figure out like what I was doing, what did I really want, at that point in my life. I actually worked with a dating coach, and he helped me start look at dating differently, to stop romanticizing and living in this fantasy about love, and to pinpoint and look at it more from like a business standpoint, which it may sound a little crude, but to change how I looked at dating. And I took his foundation, and then I, used my life experience and morphed into something else. But as I started to work with him, I just went full into dating. I started dating, I think I did like 20 odd dates within like a month's time. I was on dating apps. I was, going and meeting people in real life. And I met my husband. I was out living my life, just living my life. And he stopped me in my tracks to say hi. And at the time when I met my husband, so this is why I say that if it's a man of substance, it will not matter like what you look like. Because I was a hot mess. My hair wasn't done. I don't think I had makeup on. And he stopped me to say hello. And I was like, I'm not really cute, right? So that was that was my internal talk. And then we just started talking. And then from there, so I'll point out that even though, so going back to chemistry, right? Chemistry was a pattern of mine. So when we met, even though there was that chemistry, there was attraction, I had to break that pattern. So I had to say, okay, it's nice to meet you. And he was put into the list of men that I was dating, because I was actively dating multiple men at the same time. And because I had to see like which one I really liked, which one matched my values. And that takes time, right? That takes time to see the values demonstrated in real life, to see if they really match, to see if there's really alignment. And yeah, he turned out to be the one. And I say the one. But yeah.
Wow, that is awesome. Okay, so you were out there. So you're recommending dating apps, but I love that you also have used them too. All
Oh
right.
yeah. Oh yeah. This
Okay.
dating reset method is tried and true.
Try
And
it and true.
yeah, my clients use it too, same method. And of course, our experiences are different. So some things need some tweaking. I dated a lot because I was just hyper focused. I think that's how I am, just hyper focused. But not everyone wants to date that heavily. And it also comes into like what your love style is too, which I talk about in the book. And just briefly, a love style is like what your dating archetype is and what your attachment style is. So even understanding what your love style is also something else that help you break whatever patterns that you keep repeating. And to even find out like how do you connect? What's your preferred way of connecting with a man?
Okay, okay. Well, let's take this into the chat, because I do have another question, but I'll see if
Okay.
anybody has a question. Now is the time to
Oh,
ask.
I was in
You
the
can
wrong
also,
tab.
can you see the questions?
I can't now. Yes.
Okay. Well, it's more like statements, but if you want to come on here with us, I'm going to drop this link in the chat. Now, you don't have to come on, but if you want to come on, you can. So I'm going to put that link in there. Come on, come on.
Oh, I see a comment. She's in her
Okay.
70s and she attracts. Okay. I see you.
Yes. Is that Geraldine?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, let's see. Geraldine says, I attract men and I'm 70, but they must be stable in all aspects, especially financially. And I say, amen, sister. I feel the same way at 52. All right, very good. So she also says socializing a lot and something, because I think you talked about like, what would older people do when they, dating, like you were trying to give an example here. And she likes to socialize and she likes the bookstore. Bookstores, they are getting rid of these bookstores, but there is a nice one in my neighborhood. And when I go, I never see guys in there really. And I don't go until the summertime, but I never really see guys in there, but I think that would be a great place to meet someone. She says, oh, Diana, they're our new member. She says, oh, the clarification made all the difference. So when you clarify, what did you call the man that was?
A man
not
of
just
substance.
a man of substance. We love that. Geraldine says, true, size isn't as important as your personality. I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I have mobility challenges, Geraldine said, and it's never an issue. My problem is I attract men that are too young, but you're not a sugar mama. I love that. So what about that age question? So, I'm 52, and so I had a guy, try to hit on me in his 20s, and then there was a guy that was like 31, and I've dated younger before, but now I feel like I'm 52. I feel like it's a stretch to go 20 years on under, and even I don't know if I would go 20 years older. I just might. I don't know. So do you have like parameters on the age, or is it just like whatever lines up with your values and that's it?
I would say look at values first, but be aware that men who are younger sometimes want to have children. And if you are older and you're out of that, childbearing age, then that may be a concern. And even though men, younger men, people change, right? He may say, oh no, having children is not important to me now. But then in 5 years, he may change his mind. And then that becomes an issue. So, like those type of things, you have to be concerned with. But I would say look at the values first, because there are some younger men, or we say younger than 40, who act older, right? Or who are more mature than a typical, 30-year-old. But it's up to you. I mean, age, I would say look at the values first, look at the core values and look for alignment there.
Now, Mel has two statements. Her first one was, now that's a word, be picky. We love that.
Be
We
picky.
were told on here we're hearing from some men that women need to be more soft and pink is what was said. And I know what they mean by soft. Do you have that issue of women coming in, like, women, a lot of women are bosses. They're, running companies, corporations,
Mhm.
they're entrepreneurs. They have all these degrees. How do you coach a woman like that that's coming in so strong?
Yeah. So when you're strong like that, right, so I have my own business too, so I understand. But when you now want to be in a relationship with a man, right, so now we're talking about energy, right? So the energy has to shift. Like you have to be able to shift your energy, and so does he, right? And that really comes down to understanding your partner's energy, understanding, how they're coming into the relationship. You cannot be in a relationship and try to run it like your business. Like that's not realistic. So when I say it's like being soft or pink, I probably wouldn't use those words, but it is a matter of shifting your energy, right? Shifting that
Yeah,
energy so that you can create this harmonious space so you can enjoy your relationship. But you can't come in with this rah energy, do this, Um,
right. Yeah.
yeah, so I think it's more energy and not being soft or pink. There has to be that balance and creating this harmonious atmosphere.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Oh wait, let me see. We'll go
Oh,
to Mary in a second. Okay. Mel says, I love how I want to make sure Nadia
yes.
said that you should date a few men at once. I love that. Please say more. Yeah,
Yes.
isn't
So
that kind of taboo? You hear about a woman dating, people assume it's intimate when dating to me and intimate is two totally different things. Like,
right.
I don't assume when somebody's, maybe because I know that's what I'm not doing, but I don't assume when a woman says she's dating multiple men that she's intimate with multiple men. But I think a lot of people, that's their first go to.
Right. So dating multiple men is a strategy. I recommend that you refrain from having sex while you're dating multiple men, because the intention is that you give yourself the space and the time to observe these men. And for women, right, when we start, you know, becoming sexually intimate with a man, it messes, right? The chemicals in our brain, right, which is this, the oxytocin, whatever it is, right? That those chemicals get in the way of our decision making. So you're going to date multiple men so you can see, are those values aligned? You want to give yourself that space. And you're not going to hide that you're dating multiple men from the men that you are seeing. You're going to let them know, right? You're going to tell them, listen, I am actively dating, X amount of men, multiple men. You don't have to give them a number. You're grown. You can do what you want to do. And just let them know, be upfront. And if they are dating two, they're probably dating multiple women as well. So it shouldn't be this, oh my gosh, she's, back in my day, like she's a hoe. No, I'm just actively dating so I can find a partner. So that's how you do that.
Okay. All right. I love the transparency. I love that. That's what's lacking a lot.
Yeah, be transparent, because then if the person that you're telling this to, if he's like not agreeing, or it's, something that he can't deal with, then you know that you don't have to see him. Then it's it was so great. It was so great meeting you. But this is not going to work.
I love that. Okay, Mary says, I have been a widow since December 2020. Sometimes I wonder about dating. Sometimes. Now she's wondering about it. Would you think she's ready?
Yeah. If you're wondering about it, you are ready. So I would recommend you start working with someone that can help you, figure out like what you want to do, how you take that first step. I don't recommend just getting back out there. Don't throw yourself into the dating pool, because your results won't be that great. Only because dating is what it is, right? Dating is a skill. So I'll say that too. Dating is a skill. And women who go out and hope or are hopeful tend not to have good results. But yeah, if you are married, if you are considering and you're wondering, then you should go to call me.
Mary, we're both ready and we didn't know. I love that. All right. So, okay, G's 101. He says, good men better be picky as well. People are people these days, regardless of gender. Yes, yes, yes. I agree. I agree.
I agree too, but you never ever hear that a man is too picky. It's always the woman. Oh, she's too picky.
Yes.
So
You said
that's why, geez, I say that women should be picky, because we're always told that we should not be.
now, G's 101. Let me ask you, since you're the man in the on this chat, why do you think men are never told they're too picky? Because I've never heard that. She's right. I've never heard a man anyone say a man was being too picky. All right, so we have someone coming to the stage. Coming to the stage is Mel B. Anyone say a man was being too picky. All right, so we have someone coming to the stage. Coming to the stage is Mel B. Anyone say a man was being too picky.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. We can hear your echo. All right, Mel. So have you ever heard of a man being called too picky? Have you ever heard that?
I think she's up.
Oh, wait.
Muted.
Oh, here. She's not mute. Okay, there you go.
Mike, let's see.
Have you ever heard of a man being called too picky? You can't hear? I don't know why you can't hear. We can hear of a man being called too picky. You can't hear? I don't know why you can't hear. You can hear of a man being... Yeah, I'm not sure why you can't hear. You can't hear? Okay. All right. Well, okay. Let us know when she comes back in. Okay. So Geraldine says, I'm a previous business owner and I would never date an employee. Okay. Do you advocate people dating in the workplace?
I don't. I think that there are enough people in the world that you could date somewhere else and not where you work. It just gets messy.
I agree.
People,
right.
Once people know, then it becomes a whole thing with HR, and it's just very uncomfortable.
We have a super chat. Oh, Geraldine, thank you. Okay, here she is. Let me try this. Wait. Oh, thank you, Geraldine. I wanted to try that. That is so cool. Thank you. All right, so we actually have mail to the B is back. Let me add us back to the stage. What are we doing? Okay. All right. Thank you. Here we go. All right, so let's see, Geraldine, and then we'll get mail in a second. Let me find Geraldine's comment again. Okay, that's where we were at. She said she was a previous business owner. I wanted to say, I'm an educator, and I feel like because I don't date in the workplace, I feel like I'm at a disadvantage. I don't, there really aren't very many men in education unless they're higher up, and they're usually married. And then I don't date like uncles and dads, and I've had a lot of that. And I don't date. I feel like that's, even though they don't work at the school, I feel like the connections there. You know what I mean? Like, with their son or daughter or kids. And then, I don't want to be in the middle of a divorce situation and you're dating the teacher, So I've never done that. That has excluded me for 31 years out of dating in the workplace. And so I'm glad to know you said, and I know a lot of workplaces, you can't even be married in in the workplace together. That's not allowed because of what you said. It's great when it's great, and then when it's not, it just brings confusion. It can. I realize that some places it works beautifully. We're not talking about those places.
Yeah.
But so that's interesting that you said that.
Yeah, I would
All
say
right.
do your best not to in your place of work.
All right, Mel, can you hear us?
I can. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. All right. Do you have a question for Nadia?
I do. Nadia, first, welcome to our community. And I have to apologize. I'm in bed, which I think all of my friends in the chat and Dee Dee know that I'm normally not, but I injured my foot working out today.
Oh,
I
no.
twisted it and I have to go get an x-ray in the morning. So I'm in my bed, but I'm comfortable. So so my question, I actually have two questions, and I actually explored hiring, I guess you would call it hiring. Yeah, hiring a dating coach at one point. Coach Cass, I live down here in South Florida, and she's a well-known dating coach. So
Yeah,
anyway,
I've heard of her.
Oh, you have? Okay. So my question is this. You mentioned red flags. Can you share any green flags that sometimes we overlook that might be something special to kind of hone in on?
Yeah. So I'm going to say that the red flag, green flags, all the flags are, those are really nice terms. But what I would ask you to focus on are your core values. Because what is a red flag for me may be a green flag for you. So those things are variables. But what my core values are true for me. And what your core values are will be true for you. So stick to those, and then you can decide what color flags you want to place on those values. Does that make sense? Because I hear, and social media is great with, and all the advice and stuff out there, but it really comes down to what are the things that really matter to you that you will not shift from? What are those things? And those are your green flags.
Okay.
Thank green flags may be different, is what you're saying. I have my
different. Yeah.
And Ben has her thing. Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah, got it.
If I say a green flag, then everyone here will hold on to Nadia said that's a green flag, and it may not be true.
Yeah.
You know what I
That's
mean?
a good point. No, that's absolutely a good point, because who's to say, right? I do have another question. Well, two, but I'll make it fast. I apologize. I don't want to take up the whole stage all night. But what do you believe, I'm just asking based on your experience, what is a good first date? Because that's something I struggle with, that allows you the opportunity to really get to know someone instead of wasting time at a movie, for example, where you really can't talk. Like, that's something that I'd like to know. I mean, it sounds minor, but I've actually struggled with that, and whether or not I wanted to meet someone out at a bar or do XYZ. It
Mhm.
just, I don't know.
So
What do
when
you think?
so help me understand. So when you say for a date, is this like the first time you're meeting someone, or have
Yeah.
you met them already and now you're actually going to, like, which point, like, where are we?
Yeah. Okay. So for me, most of the time it's been, and I do not spin the block. Like, I don't go backwards. That's kind of my mantra. I probably shouldn't say that because you never know. But so for me, it's more often a first date. Maybe we've spoken, FaceTimed or something like that.
Mhm.
Or recently I went out on kind of like a second first date with someone who I hadn't seen in a couple of years. We were not like in some type of intimate relationship, but we talked a lot. And I
Yeah.
decided I wasn't interested because of his beliefs and machismo and stuff that I just felt I couldn't live with. I don't even know why I spun the block, but I kind of did by meeting him out. And we met out at a bar, and it just felt, ugh, I don't know. We met for a drink, and I'm not drinking anymore, so I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I would say, what do you like to do? Like, where, so you don't like the bar because you're not really drinking. So would a cafe be more suitable where you can have conversation? Is there like a neighborhood cafe? Right. I don't want to say Starbucks, but the Starbucks, they're open again. So now they have seating. But even like a neighborhood cafe where there's not a lot of noise, where you can actually have a conversation. Is
Yeah,
it a walk in the park, right? If this is your first time meeting, is it something like that? Or is it axe throwing, right? Is it, and that, so I go back to it, it could be
axe
like,
throwing. I like
and
that.
that goes into, so part of what I help clients do too is I help them figure out what their love style is. And I have a quiz. If you go to my website, there's a quiz there you can take. And the love style goes into like, what is your dating archetype? And your dating archetype says, how do I like to meet people? How do I do that? Some people like adventure, like that's their thing. They want to, jump off a cliff and jump out, all those things that I'm not doing. So it's definitely not my archetype, right? Some people like to go to a cafe, have espresso. That's me. That's my archetype. So if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go to a cafe where they have nice espresso because that's my love language. And I'm going to sit down at a nice little table and have a conversation. If it's like a bookstore, that's also me. Bookstore, I'll be there. A art museum, I'll also be in something like that type of setting. So figure out like where you're comfortable and see if the man also will meet you there. Because then you're going, so for first dates, if you don't like him, then at least you're in some place that you like. You're in a place that you love. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. That's a good point. Very good point. I love comedy, so maybe that's something. And I could recommend it. I just hate coming off as um bossy or whatever, because I'm very outgoing, professional, successful. And so, I know that men have told me that I'm intimidating. And I'm like, I don't see that. Like, I'm very sweet. They'll say, "Oh, you're so
Yeah.
sweet," but it's very intimidating. So I hate to jump in and say, "Let's do this. We should go here." Like, I hate to start that way, but maybe I'm just overthinking it. So
So it's about the energy, right? It's about the energy. And when men say they're intimidated by a woman, it's usually because they don't feel safe, right? So men also have,
ooh,
they're also, when we talk about men, and I have two of them that I love, my husband and my son. So I'm very sensitive to men and how they operate and how they think. So if a man says he's intimidated, he probably doesn't feel safe in your presence. And if you create this space for him to feel okay, like, instead of saying, let's go here, let's go there, be like, hey, there's this thing that I read about recently. I'm kind of interested in going. What do you think? Should we like go, and pose it to him that way? Same type of question, right? But the delivery is different. And then you kind of create this
okay.
space for him to say, oh, what is, then you create the space for him to say, oh, where is it? Or let me look into it. And then he can
Take the
either
lead.
take the lead, right?
Yeah.
That's just about shifting your energy just a tad, right? Not pink, not soft, just shifting it and asking in a different way. So he
Yeah,
doesn't have to feel intimidated, because they
I
do.
like that. I like that. Thank you. That's great advice. And I have pulled up your website, so I will take the quiz. I will
Yeah.
check
Oh,
you
good,
out.
good.
Now,
I may need your services sooner rather than later.
I'm glad I was helpful.
let me ask you while Mel's on here. So Mel and
Grab your
I,
foot.
let's see, we're hanging out, we're friends, and we decide we want to hang out. We're both single. Is it good for us to go and hang out together? Am I like, are we, two ladies hanging out together with the same intention? Is that bad? Because I always hear people, who would tell me you need to go to like a sports bar or maybe like a place where the guys go like on a sports night. And I do like sports, so it wouldn't be like, a stretch. But go by myself, because when you take girlfriends, that just kind of like it messes things up. And a man might even be afraid to approach you when you're with multiple females. So what do you think about that?
So yes. So we talk about like men, right? Creating this space of safety. If you go with a woman, another friend, and they're two, it makes it awkward for him to come up because now he has to pick, or there's this, right? He has to, I like this one, but I have to talk to this one too, right? But if you're by yourself there, then it makes it easier for him to come up and have a conversation. So if your intention is to go and meet someone and you like sports, you go by yourself. Maybe your friend can come later, or maybe both of you go and one sits that way and the other one sits over there, right? Maybe you sit
I like
apart for
that.
like the first 2 hours and you come together. You can do something like that, right? Then you'll also think about your safety, right? About where you're going. So sometimes it's good that you do go with a friend, but maybe you get there and you go to separate locations, keep an eye on each other, and then meet up later.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good question. That is.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
I'm open to going out by myself, but yeah, that was a good question, Dee Dee. Hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
I like how she said though, because sometimes, I know for me, I always feel like I want to be with like somebody just in case something happens, or
yeah.
you could be at the nicest place. Now things happen at the nicest places.
Yeah.
So I like that idea of still being separate though, and then
Mhm.
you could just ask Camille if he has a friend, or I'll see if he has a brother or a cousin.
And then you text her, be like, hey, come over.
Yeah. Hey,
Right?
spotted one. No joking.
Yeah,
I'm just teasing. I'm
I
teasing.
love that.
You have
I
you
love
have
it.
a safety buddy that goes out with
Yes.
you.
I see what you mean about safety. When you first hear that, you think little old me, like who's gonna, I'm just speaking for women in general. When you say men are afraid or men don't feel safe, but I can see that because I even understood the example you gave her about rephrasing the question and making him feel like it's his idea, making him feel like he's taking the lead, even though it's your idea and your suggestion. And I think that shifting that energy, I think that's important, especially for a man with a woman who has like things going on for herself. And then that's going to be I think the challenge for most of us to do that, to shift that energy, right?
And it's all about, right? So if you ask the question, it's like if you had a client or you were talking with someone who, take out the romance part, right? You would approach them in a certain way because you want them to like agree with you, right? So you would change like your tone, how you lean in and all these other things. So the same thing with romance, right? Allow this person to feel like they are participating in the decision making.
That's great advice. That's great advice. Well,
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk more to you.
Oh, good. I look forward to it.
And so
I'm glad
we're
I was
taking
Yeah,
the
helpful.
quiz for sure. I'm going on there and taking that quiz. It's very good.
absolutely. Nice
All right.
meeting you, Nadia.
Nice
Thanks,
meeting
Dee
you
Dee.
too. Take
Thank
care of your
you.
foot.
Thank you. I'm like, long story, but yeah, it's not broken. That's good news. So
Okay.
thank you. Talk to you. See you, Dee Dee.
Bye. All right, that was a great question. Okay, so we have some comments here. Mel, one of my friends was advised from her therapist that it's okay to date a few people. You're not obligated to one person until you both decide to be exclusive. I agree with that. I love that. Let's see. People are agreeing with Mary. Nia says, I always date one at a time with no other options and could be missing out. I think exactly. Absolutely. You could be missing out. Let's see. Bellflower says, I agree with that. I think we need time to choose the right connection. Many simply choose wrong for the wrong reasons and unclear intentions. Very true. Oh, we forgot to say, hit that like button. Thanks for the reminder, Kim. Hit the like button. Thank you. Men just don't verbalize as much as women, he's saying. Okay. All right. Very good. And I believe that's true. Do you believe that's true? Men may feel things. Do they actually say it as much as a woman may say it out loud?
Men communicate differently than women. So they do. Do they verbalize? I think they do. It's just, as a woman, are we tapped into what they're saying? Are we tapped into how they're communicating to us? But they will let us know. And if you are able to create that space for the man to feel safe, then he will tell you everything. But that's like out of the dating realm, right? That's more into the relationship, right? Committed relationship space. Then it becomes different. But while you're dating, if you listen, men, they'll tell you what they're thinking. They're not that complicated.
They're not that complicated. Okay.
Men are not that complicated.
Oh, I think this is so true, Jerlene. She says, when you have been loved well and lose a partner, it's very hard not to compare the previous relationship. Better to be loved and lost than to never have loved at all. Isn't that so true? I think we do compare. I've never been married. I've been engaged twice, but I am still, I haven't been known to compare and think that. So how do you get past that comparison?
Yeah. Well, you have to think about, what I would say is, think about what drew you to that partner, right? What were the things about that partner, about that person that drew you to them? What were those qualities? And then you want to look for those same or similar qualities in someone else. What were the values that you shared that this person that you were with, who's no longer with you, what was that? Now, it's not to say that you're going to replace that person. Absolutely not. But if you want to, move from where you are today, right? So if you are a widow and you've lost that person, so you've been married for X amount of years, whatever the time is, but from the point of today, where you are now, what is your vision of love today? What is your vision for your life now? And then you want to look for someone who fits that, where you are today and where you see your life going, right? Because the person who has passed is not here with you. So now you have to reset what you're looking for, right? Because everything is now different. You're older now. You're looking for different things. So that's what I would suggest.
That's beautiful. I was like, oh my goodness, that vision of love. That's a great way to put it. And looking toward the future. Very good. Oh my goodness. All right. Oh, you're gonna make me tear up. I just thought that was so sweet. Bellflower says, I have male friends that are super picky. Some are vocal about it and some are not. Yeah, I believe that's true.
And no one tells them not to. That's why I've never heard anyone say, they don't tell the man, don't be so picky. I never heard that.
The heck they don't, G's 101. They are incredibly vocal about their likes and their dislikes. Oh my goodness. And then we want to thank Jerlene again. Thank you, Jerlene. Bellflower says, I have male friends who are very picky. Oh, I read that already. Then it must have scrolled back up. Okay. Wait, she says she never hears that would be why, but doesn't mean that they are also picky. Okay, so he's saying you said that you don't hear that, and I'm saying I haven't heard that. And that would be why, but it doesn't mean that they aren't also picky. Yeah, I do. I think some men are picky. I think so. But I don't know. I don't know if they're looking at. I feel like I don't know. I don't want to make a general statement. Some of the men I know, I feel like they're not always, maybe when they marry, but when they're just out here dating, I don't see a lot of men. When I talk to my male friends, the first thing is it values is how she looks. That's what I hear. The first thing they say, she looked like this, she looked like that, she had this on, she had that on. And then the conversation kind of shifts to that. So I'm gonna have to start listening to myself and thinking, is that the first things I'm saying when I'm, sharing with someone about a guy I met. I'm wondering now, am I talking about the looks first? I don't know.
Well, looks are important, right? I mean, the physical attraction, we all have we all want to be physically attracted to someone. So I won't say, oh no, that's not important. It is important. Um, but as far as what will keep you seeing this person or what will draw you into having a conversation will be something other than how this person looks. How the person looks, yeah, you'll want to start the conversation. But what will keep you sitting there? What will lead to another date? It won't be just how the person looks. Because you could be as beautiful as whatever, and then your conversation is like you can't put sentences together, right? So
Yeah.
that's not going to work.
Now, Mary says, she says her son is living with her. Her neighbors think he's her man. They even thought he was my new man. I'm like, no, he's my son. My son is living with me. Okay, she said, I took my son to church and they thought I met somebody. I'm like, really? He's my son. They might think you're ready to date too. Oh my goodness. Jolene says, I not only want to be attractive physically, but your voice is important to me. My second husband was a wrong number and we engaged in an ongoing conversation. Okay, okay. We engaged in an ongoing conversation. All right. Okay. But when you say my second husband was a wrong number, do you know what she means by that?
What that sounds like to me is that he called. He didn't mean to talk to her,
Oh,
but
okay, okay,
yeah,
okay.
but then it was like, oh, you sound like fun. Let's keep talking.
So it wasn't even the physical attraction, it was the voice.
I'm telling
You
you,
know
the
what?
conversation.
What do you feel about long distance relationships? Because the last guy that I was excited about and probably would be married to, but he lived in a different state and once the lockdown happened, we just, it just went all awry. But but I love the fact that I felt like he was like one of the closest because we talked all the time. We talked, we FaceTimed. That communication was so key
Mhm.
because he was long distance. I flew out there, he came here, we traveled away together. And so I love that idea. But now that I'm, settled and I can't see myself doing that, especially with a young daughter. And so how do you feel about long distance relationships? If I meet some guy on this app, would you encourage me to continue to date him if we were in different states?
Yes. I would say if to date, right? So maybe, right? And you decide, but now if you're going to be in a committed relationship, then there has to be a plan that you both live in the same state, right?
Okay.
Like the plan cannot be that you are long distance for years, right? But dating, right? Getting to know this person, getting to see if he shares your same values. Yeah, if he's in another state. But think about if this gets more serious, what is the plan that you both are together physically?
That makes sense too. And we talked about the plan after we really got into each other. That's not like we talked about that possibility, but that's not something we talked about at first. And I think that's kind of where we went wrong because it's kind of like, I'm not moving. He didn't want to move, and then where do you? It's like, not wanting kids, and then you change your mind that you want them. It's like, where do you go from there?
Yeah.
So that's a mistake I won't make this time. Diana, she says, here's some ideas: bowling, paint and sip. I think I love the paint and sip because you can actually talk. Visiting a car dealership just for fun. Now, that's a new one. I never heard or thought about that. Home Depot at noon. I love that too. Home Depot. Yes, yes, yes. So you're going to Home Depot, you're in that aisle picking out that paintbrush, and and the guy comes up. Where are some places? I think those are great ideas. Where are some places where you would recommend you go to meet a guy? And I know you said where your values line up. So maybe if I'm not going to a bar it wouldn't be for me. But do you have some staples that you recommend?
I always recommend, go to places. So depending on what you're looking for, you want to go to the places where the man that has the qualities where he goes, right? And you want to sit down and kind of think about, well, where does this type of person go? Um, Bowling, paint. I don't know a lot of men who go to paint and sip events. At least not a lot of single men who go. They usually go there with like their girlfriend. Um,
But on the
but
first date, what about the first date?
oh, this
I
is a
think,
first date.
yeah, I think
No, for
that's
first.
giving first date ideas.
Yeah, so first date, bowling, paint and sip. I mean, these are fine. I think you should, for if it's a first date, so if you're just meeting this person for the first time, it shouldn't be something that will take a lot of your time. It should be like maybe I like a coffee date or go for a walk. It should not be like a full-blown dinner if you're just meeting them for the first time. And why I recommend that is if you are not interested in this person, then you have only spent about 30 minutes with this person. Whereas opposed if you sit down for dinner, right now you have you're waiting for your entree to come and all the things. Now you have to sit there because and depending you could get up and leave, but it's so much easier if you're going for something that's shorter because you want to see is there physical attraction, right? So that first initial day when you're seeing someone in person, is there physical attraction? Have you had enough conversation to decide that you want to see this person again, right? That's that first date. So it shouldn't be long. And I would probably pick some place that I like to go and then, have the conversation with the man. Hey, can we, I lived in New York for many years. How about going to MoMA? MoMA has this great exhibit opening up on Thursday. Can we meet there at 5 or whatever it is? And do that. Because once again, if it doesn't work out, then you are already in the space that you enjoy. And you could tell him it was great meeting you. I'm going to go look at this other exhibit. And right. So I would say go to places that you really like to be in where you can have a conversation and don't make it long.
I love how you say go somewhere where you want to go. I always say let's meet at Starbucks. Even if they offer dinner, I always just say Starbucks because I feel like that too. Like if it doesn't work out, if he's out of $2, $3, $5 at the most because I'm getting the smallest little drink, and it's a short period of time. We're not hanging out in there. And then if he wants to continue to see me, then then he'll say, okay.
Right. You can make a real date.
Real
right?
date. Yeah. So I like that. But I like the museum, that kind of idea too. All right. Delilah says those are insecure men that feel intimidated by male. But our expert here says that the men aren't really feeling safe. And I get what she's saying about that. Not like scared, but like safe to be able to, open up, share their ideas, share something of themselves. So I think that's a nice way to look at it. And Mary's talking about her son. We got to get you on a date away from your son. Not away from your son, but so people don't think you're dating him. We got to get you a real date. Jerlene says, I'm a communicator with a nice voice, so it's easy for me to do live chats, but rarely go on dates that way. Okay, but we got to get you out on that date too. You got to get on that date. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. Mel B, you're so beautiful. Just entering room. The room is a plus. I love that. All right, let's see. Let me see. Anybody have any other questions? Let's see. Okay, Geraldine is telling us how she met. We were neighbors. We went to college with my older sister and would not let him know for 6 months. And we were married 6 months later. Wow. Very good. All right. So here's a married lady in the chat here. Now, wait, let me go to this comment because I think this is so true. A widow has to reinvent themselves. I've had a lot of time to think about this. All right. So if you're thinking about it, Mary, what are you reinventing yourself to do? Like, so what are you going to do to reinvent yourself? We'll ask the expert. What does she think about that? Simply Taisha is married. She says, I don't necessarily believe in the man should lead mindset. I believe we are both adults and we can have discussions to figure things out. We are partners. What do you think about that?
So so now we're stepping into a relationship question. This doesn't sound like dating question. So again, this goes back to energy, right? And creating harmony. you're both done, we can discuss. Yeah, you can, but it's also about how do you manage the energy. If you're both going in with, I know what's right, I know what to say, if everyone's coming in with that energy, it's not going to work, right? But if I know like my husband's going to come with that energy, then I'm going to come at this energy so that I could create this balance. So it's all about where's the energy and how do you balance. I would say I believe that women may be better at balancing the energies in a relationship than men are. Sometimes men are good. Um, but I know that I can control my energy. So no matter the environment I'm in, if I'm with my husband and if I'm out in public, I will always try to balance the energy wherever I am. So that's what that is about. So yeah, everyone's adults, but yeah, it's about balancing the energy.
Okay, okay. All right, I like that. It says before marriage, I also initiated contact with men. I didn't just wait to be approached. His language was important. For example, hey baby wouldn't get my attention. Yeah, well, how do you think about that?
Yeah, I think initiating contact with men, so that like walking up to them and saying hi, or yeah, that's fine. You don't have to wait for them. And I think again, in today's society, it is a tricky situation for men to approach women. We just had the Me Too movement. If men touch a woman, there's all these things that come up. So sometimes going up to a man and saying hello, and just letting them know that you're interested in them and you want to have a conversation, it kind of eases the tension for them, and it makes it easier to have a conversation.
Now, here's an interesting comment. Let's see. People are responding to the coffee dates. A lot of people are agreeing with that. Um, Diana said that's why she suggested those things the first date. When I'm not interested, I ask if I can introduce them to a friend, especially if they're too young. Now, he says, G's 101. He says, I don't drink coffee. It sends me to the restroom. I know, TMI. But me at the park, unless you want an extremely short date. Don't mind me just being silly, y'all. The only thing about that park is I feel like if you're like some kind of, because we don't know you, right? When we're first meeting you, I feel like if you're some kind of, not the nicest guy, it's too open. It's open, but it's closed too. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it's not a lot of people around. Now, if we were at a park and there was an event going on, maybe, but I just think a park is not the safest place to meet somebody
Yeah.
because it's just too open.
Yeah. So I'm based in Georgia now, but I was from New York. So when I say park, like I think of like Central Park that has like the fountain. Like there's certain places in bigger cities where they have these like type of landmarks in the park. So that when I say that, that's what I'm thinking, that you would meet at a certain location and have a conversation there, not just walk around.
Oh, okay, okay. I
Yeah.
love that. It sounds simple, but do you think it's good to find out what men think dating is? Yeah, because I do think though sometimes people have a skewed idea of dating. I think sometimes men think if they pay for things, and a woman can think this too. If they pay for things, like even though you don't say it's exclusive, it's exclusive. Is it exclusive when people say, like, we're not dating anybody else from this day forward? What is dating?
Dating is the process of getting to know someone. That is dating. Now, if you want to move into you're in a committed relationship, then that's something different. And to clear all this up is to have that conversation, right? On that, once you decide, right? So this, every time I hear these questions, I always need like more information. If you're meeting someone for the first time, you're not thinking about what they're thinking about dating. But now it sounds like you've been seeing this person for a while and now you want to know, well, what do they think? Then you have to ask them, hey, we've been seeing each other for a while. Where are we going from here? I'm looking for an exclusive relationship, if that's what you're looking for. And then you want to ask them, what are you looking for? What are your intentions? And find that out. And then once he tells you, you have to be willing to walk away and not try to, this goes back into your love style, right? And your attachment style. Sometimes women will hear that the man is not interested, and all of a sudden now they start to spiral. And now it becomes, well, why don't you, why aren't you interested in me? And let me show you how great I am. And then it becomes this whole thing. And now she's fixated on this person. So just ask the question, what do you think? What's dating? He'll tell you.
Okay. Thank you. Felicia says, "Hey, Felicia, my first date with my husband was at a church at the garden. If it didn't work out that day, I was just going to go on with your Sunday service." All right.
That's it.
I love that. I mean, big city, active park, not a desolate, unsafe place. Yes. David and I are out on our track. Oh, David and I are out on our track, our walk right now in the dark. Dark, super nice. What? So you're saying you're in a dark place? I don't know. I didn't catch that. Nadia, I'm sorry. I've had time to think about what I'm enjoy doing. I've lost weight, work out, and eat healthier. For me, I was a caregiver for 2 years for my husband until he passed. I needed time to recuperate. Yes.
I understand.
I think you do. Yeah. And so it's been I think it has been 3 years because you said 2022, I believe. So yeah, it sounds like you are ready. It does. Nadia, I visit Georgia quite often because my children reside there, and I'm from Minneapolis. My questions are most men in Georgia down there on the down low? Do you hear that with your clients that are in Georgia?
I have not heard that, but men on the down low, I think, are everywhere. That's not just here, right? They're just everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Jesus. Dating later in life. Do you believe in state your intentions immediately so that you don't waste time getting attached if your intentions don't align? I love that question.
So I understand the question. And so this, right, so this comes back to fear, right? The fear of wasting time. So what I would recommend is that you, instead of just saying what your intentions are immediately, you want to get to know this person first, and be curious about this person. Be curious. And how do you state your intentions? And again, it goes back to what your values are, right? You don't want to go in and say on the first date, I'm looking for a husband, right? You're meeting this person, you want to say, and whatever question you want to ask that you want to hear from them. Do they have children? Do they have grandkids? What do they do for a living? All these other type of questions. And then you decide. But on the first date, second date, you're still being curious about them. You're still trying to figure out like what they like, what values they have. You want to give it time. So don't think of dating as wasting time. Think of dating as investing in your romantic future, and shift that mindset.
So don't think of it as wasting time. Think of it as an investment into your romantic future.
Yeah.
I love that. That is a mind shift. Because you always think wasting your time, like at this age, I always think like, yeah, I don't have time for this, that, and the other. But that first date, if you're going on that first date, you're making that short, right? To even know if you're interested in a longer date, that right there alone is going to save people time, energy, and effort, because you're going to pick something quick, easy peasy, and and get it out the way. Okay. All right. Thank you. Mary said 4 years it has been with her husband. She says, Nadia, my husband Peter was from Peekskill, New York. I got to meet his family. I'm from the South. Okay, very good. Wow. Geez, I met 2 men in Georgia and they were bisexual. And I figured it was her experience. Usually, when people are saying things, it is their experience.
They're out there.
So anything else you want to share with us? I think people answered all the questions I have. I just have one thing, and then we'll put up because you wrote a book, so I want you to tell us about where we can, order the books. We have to pre-order the book. We're going to put that up there. And what's one piece of advice you would give to someone who is watching and ready to reset their dating life today? Like, what's one piece of advice you would give?
Yeah. So the one piece of advice I would give is to tap into what your dating patterns are, because we all have them. And to just sit back, and the easiest thing to do to see what that is to look at the last two relationships you were in, whether it was long or not, but just the last two men that you have dated or were in a relationship in, right? And just take out a piece of paper and write down the things that drew you to those men. And then you want to write everything down, and then circle the things that are in common, and then decide, are those things that are in common, are those your values? Are those your values? And then from there, you'll have a list, and then you'll decide what your core values are. Because maybe you're going to look and be like, I have no idea why I picked these men, because none of these things are really what matters to me. And then you'll start creating a whole new list. Because until you are solid on what that foundation is, you will continue to pick someone who is not truly aligned for you.
Yes, I love that. So look at those patterns. I was trying to look for Debbie was in here. Debbie is yes, Debbie's Weight Loss Revolution is the one that made this connection with us. So she did make here she is. I don't know if she's still listening, but she says, I think that's like such great advice. Never settle. We love that. Never settle. Very good. And you won't settle if you take her advice, not Nadia's advice, and
never
go with
settle.
values.
Only select. Never settle. Only select.
Oh, I love that. Never. That's what I'm going to take away from here. Never settle. Only select. But I'm also going to take that. You should be picky. I love that. If you're going to be picky about anything, you should be picky about that. I think that's great advice. All right, so let's find her book, and you can pre-order it, and tell us more about that.
Okay, so my book, The Dating Reset, it's a later dater's guide for aligned love, and it will be coming out this summer. It is available for pre-order on my site, so you can pick that up. I have some bonuses that you can get. As part of the pre-order purchase, you'll get some like behind the scenes stuff. You also get to see, I think at this point I'm doing like the first chapter you get to see. You'll have access to that. And I'm also going to be doing a private VIP Q&A where I'll answer more questions and also talk more about the dating reset method, which is part of the book. So yeah, if you could pick that up, that would be great. And it comes out this summer. I'm very excited about it. It's going to help a lot of women.
Now, how do we get to work with you? So if someone wanted to work with you, how do we go about doing that?
Yeah, so to work with me, so there are a couple of ways. I have a on-demand video training. If you go to my website, nadiaedwards.com, you can get that. It's $87. You sign up for that and you can get that right away, start working. I also have my group coaching container called the Redefining Love Journey. And it's a great container. We go through the entire dating reset method. I keep it small and intimate because I work closely with the women. It is live group coaching. I'm in there. It's just a fabulous program. And a lot of my clients are there. And there's also, I do a VIP day, which you can also reach out to me for. So if you go to my website, nadiaedwards.com, you can click on book a call and we can talk there, or you can click any of the buttons on my website. Go to my website.
Well, we're going to take that quiz for sure. Okay.
Absolutely. Take the quiz.
Yes. And I think Jerlene says she's going to buy that book. I'm going to buy that book. So, when some of us purchase the book, we'll invite you back and then we can talk about some of the things that are in that book. And, we can hopefully maybe by then I'll have a date or two to talk to you about.
Let me know.
Yes,
before you go, you better call me.
Yes, I am. I am. And there's a lady in here. She didn't say much. She's been married 50 years, Miss Linda. I always say I'm going to have my new boo uh, meet her and get the approval. And then I'm also going to call you, Nadia. You got to give us that approval. Well, we can end with this because Bellflower says awesome live tonight. Thank you, Dee Dee and Nadia. And let me just ask before we leave, oh, that's a great question, Kim. Is um let me see. Is Keisha in here still? Is Keisha, did you leave? I don't know if she left or not, if she's still in the chat, but I want to wish her a happy birthday. I think her birthday is tomorrow. Her birthday is tomorrow. So let me take this off, this little banner. Is she in here? Do you guys know?
Oh, she says I'm here.
Yeah, I don't know if we can sing happy birthday. Well, let's put you here. Happy birthday. Your birthday is tomorrow. Happy birthday. I thought about you. I think it's April 26th. Am I correct with that? Look how beautiful she is. Look at that profile pic. So, Lakeisha, I just want to wish you a happy birthday. I don't know if I can sing happy birthday to you. I wanted to sing the Stevie Wonder version, but I think we'll get a strike, and we can't do that since we have a guest. So I just want to wish you a happy birthday. I hope you have a great day. Oh my goodness, I remember. I was going to do this on Sunday, but then it'd be past your birthday. So everybody, can we say happy birthday to Lakeisha? Thank you for coming and joining us tonight. Look, Keisha is always the first one in our chat. She is awesome. She is like on it. But tonight, our new member beat her in there. I was telling Nadia that when we started, I said we have a new member that beat her in the chat. So I couldn't believe that. All right, so let's take this off, and then we'll give the last words to. I want to call her expert coach, Miss Nadia. Anything else you want to say? Our final little good night here.
Oh my gosh. I wish you all love. Yeah. If any of this has resonated with you, and I see a lot of you saying you're going to pre-order the book, so that's great. But if any of this has resonated with you, please go to my website, nadiaedwards.com, or you can also follow me on Instagram. And my handle is I am Nadia Edwards on Instagram also. This is so great. I'm looking at all the happy birthday wishes. This is lovely.
I know they're so supportive. And again, Diana, I just want to thank you for coming, being a member. I didn't even know she signed up. She came on this chat, and I just was so excited to see her in here. I said, geez, Louise, she made my day. I think she did this earlier today. Maybe it was today. I want to say I saw it last night. I can't remember. But anyway, we want to welcome you. Thank you for coming. Everybody, have a great night. Have a great night. We're going to have her back. We're going to order that book. We're going to read the book. And we're gonna go from there. I just see all things positive. Mary and Geraldine, it's not too late for love. So you ladies, I'm rooting for you guys out there. I think you're gonna meet somebody. You probably meet somebody quicker than Downsizing Diva. Have a good night. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Downsizing.